My name's JJ. I am Kurt's best friend. Remember that. Chris is Kurt. That's how this is gonna go. Just bear with me. I'm terrible at this. I didn't really want to do this, anything like this. I'm not very smart. I'm not clever. And I'm not that funny, so we'll kind of get through this. Thinking about all that, I really don't know why you like me. Why would we hang out? I mean, you were really good in school. I wasn't. You stayed away from the cops, and you were an innocent guy. They knew me by name. You love video games, 24/7. I had to play them because I hung out with you. You were a basketball guy, loved playing basketball. I was a baseball guy. All the way through. There you go. All right. I'm not tall, dark, and handsome. Kurt's tall. He's tall and handsome. It's close enough. Close enough. But there is a reason why we became friends, and I think it was through mutual friends. This real popular group at school. They had their own name. Group. It was the Anheuser-Busch Club. So Busch Light was the guy, and he introduced us, and we had a good time. So we still hang out now and again, and unfortunately, I hung out with him last night, and you decided that this new Budweiser thing was. That's unfortunate. Shame. Oh, you grew up. Okay. The other friend that we just don't get to see that much anymore, that really brought us together, his name's Soko. Well, Southern Comfort, sorry. He would always bring along his wine friend, so Soko wine. It'd be great if we could see him right now. You got that? All right. Good. Let's see if this flows. All right, good. He showed up. Awesome. Awesome. So really quick. Let's, for old time's sakes. There you go. I'm not gonna lie, I don't guess. All right. Anyway, Kurt and I, we lived together for a few years at UNI, and in this magnificent house. I mean, magnificent. A little sarcasm. 2104 in Olive. Everybody, we got Kurt and Brett and Willie and Joey and Matt Kramer's, and he decided to stay in Denver, but a great house. But the best part about that house, and everybody wanted to come and hang out with us, was Power Hour. Every Friday night, we did this little thing called Power Hour. Everybody would come over, we'd take a shot of beer every minute for an hour. Every minute, yeah, that works. So anyway, but you had to change the music every minute, every 60 seconds. And Kurt was a music guy, he had a stereo system and all that. And it was in his bedroom, so every Friday night we had 15, 20 people in Kurt's bedroom doing Power Hour. So it was a good time. Julia, I do have a present for you because of this. I mean, Kurt has always been known as a very innocent guy, and just genuine and all this and that. But we have a poster because everybody that came to Power Hour would sign this poster. Everybody that participated in it will bring that down here. So Julia, Kurt, always innocent guy, but if you look through that, a lot of girls that were in this book. A lot. And a few guys, but that's for you to all figure out. But seriously, Kurt, I think, you know, just always being friends with you and everything, you've always been, I've always admired how you always knew what you wanted. Like, you might not have realized that, but you always knew that there was a girl out there that you truly were going to love, and it was going to be mutual, and you were going to care for, and all that. And I admire that. I'm going to leave you guys with a little advice. Just a little bit. Kurt, work on your argument skills. Well, yeah, we're getting there. At my sister's wedding, we happened to catch on video a little argument these guys had, right in front of the camera. Hilarious, good time. Unfortunately, my sister could not make it, so you guys don't get to see that. And I don't have to point out your mistakes that you had. But I will say, just agree and just say, yes, you're right, because she's always going to be right, and just move on. And you didn't do that, so work on that. Also, you are married to her now. So you don't have to spend this ungodly amount, you know, this tip that's unbelievable at Caddy's the first night you met her. You don't have to do that anymore. And Julia, the room key that he left you that night, why don't you actually use it today? All right. Here's the Kurt and Julia. Amazing. You're my brother. And there it is. Thank you.
I'm Helena, Julia's sister. WSR means Wonio Sisters Roll. Those of you that don't know. So I love weddings. I love being around family and friends. And one of my first weddings I ever went to, I was just a little girl, and I went out to New York with my mom. My aunt and uncle were there, and my grandma and grandpa. I think it was my mom's cousin's wedding. I can't remember which. Well, anyway. But I just loved weddings ever since that one. And the thing I remember the most from that whole weekend was after the reception, we were heading out to the car so we could go back to the hotel. And my grandpa was in the middle of the street, and he just threw his hands up and he goes, "We have the greatest family in America." And I must have been 10, but it was so impressive to me at the time. I thought it was the coolest thing, and I thought how wise my grandpa was. He was so right. That was a fact. We had the best family in the whole country.
Even you, Nick!
Even you, Nick. Poor Nicholas. All right. had probably been influenced by a few beers at the reception, but I still agree with that statement, and I love my family so much, and I remember just being so excited for Julia to be born. I was desperate for a sister at that point. Just absolutely thrilled with the thought of a little baby sister. I remember when her crib was moved into my room. I just thought that was the greatest, and I couldn't believe it. I had a little baby roommate, but that elation really didn't last too long. I must have just lost interest in the novelty of a little baby. I don't know, but she's 4 years younger than I am, so after a while, as little siblings can be, she just was a little nuisance. I thought I was so much cooler than her, and she used to pal around with Annie Motto and Mark Lazio, and I think the Lazios are here. But I just had zero interest in what those little ones were doing, and so I don't know. But we've got 6 brothers, which doesn't leave us a lot of room in our, even when you have a large house. But, so we didn't have a lot of room in the house, and so Julia and I were actually bed mates for like 10 years. And I don't remember that being a very positive experience. Just little annoying things. She'd have a bad dream and just start thrashing around, or just, talk in her sleep, or whatever it was. But, so finally, I think our oldest brothers went off to college, and we got a room with 2 beds in it. Our relationship got lighter after that. We still had some things that bothered me, like if she wore anything remotely close to what I was wearing that day, I would be furious with her. So anyway, we didn't start really relating to each other until I think Julia was maybe got to high school and I was in college, maybe sooner. I think that's when the protective big sister instinct started really kicking in. I started to notice that I did have a sister. And so I decided, I'm going to share all my infinite wisdom with her. I'm 18 now and I know so much about the world. I would tell her about college parties and tell her about boys and teach her about music. I just think that probably she didn't learn much from that. She probably learned what not to do, basically. But I just loved bringing my sister around everywhere. I'd bring her to music shows and out with my friends, and it was great. And I think that's when we really developed an awesome relationship. We've been best friends ever since those days, I think. We talk every day. A lot of texting, Instagram memes, we'll send them to each other. And it's just been really important for us to have a close bond, being that we've got so many brothers in the house. But I've just been so lucky to have her around. She's taught me a lot about, what it is to have a really strong woman in your life, and it's been great. And we've been blessed too with 5 more sisters. My brothers, some of them have gotten married, and they've taught me a lot about life too. It's just wonderful to have girls around. It's wonderful. So, after all the work I did thinking I was teaching Julia all about life, I came to the realization a long time ago that she was actually much smarter than me. We've been really blessed in our house. Our parents have provided us with everything we've ever needed. So, even with that fortunate of an upbringing, I just want to point out that Julia, life's hardships have never been lost on her. She doesn't hold any delusions about life. She doesn't get tricked by media and influences all around us about what's truly important in life. She knows what's important in life, and that's taught me a lot. She's also extremely independent, which is surprising because being the baby of a family of 8, you'd think she'd be spoiled and that we would do everything for her, but no, it's quite the opposite. I think Julia really kind of helps us, teaches us, and we probably put too many things on her, but she takes everything like a champ and actually just cares for herself, provides for herself, and has worked really hard her whole life. She's just the type of person that's really persistent. She keeps going, no matter what obstacle is thrown at her. She has a fierce loyalty that was passed down by her parents. She loves her town. She loves the Quad Cities. She loves the good, hardworking people that live here. She has wonderful friends. She's had her friends, the same friends, forever. Her friends from grade school, from high school, the girls that she worked with at one of her first jobs. And it was really fun for me to hang out with all of them at her bachelorette party recently. The Caddies girls, woo! See some of them back there?
They're pretty catty.
Caddy girls. But I think being the youngest of 8 has made her so lovable. She gets along with everybody. She can deal with any personality type. She relates to everybody. So with all that in mind, we know she would marry a great guy like Chris. And a bonus is that he is a delightful contrast from the Wonio boys. Julie and I love to joke that we picked men that are completely opposite of our brothers, but in reality, Chris shares a lot of the really good qualities that my brothers do, in fact, have, if you can believe that. No, I'm going to say something nice about you. Chris is honest, he's hardworking, he's loyal, smart, friendly, easygoing. He's going to be a wonderful husband, he's going to be a wonderful father. And when I look at my brothers, that's what I see in my brothers. So. That is literally the only praise they've gotten from me and the rest of the girls. But, and Julia, I think she picked a man who's like her brothers in a lot of ways and is like her father, too. I must mention my father because, while we are so horrified by his early passing, Julia and I both recognize that God does things for a reason. And in my case and in my sister's case, God gave us 2 loving husbands around the same time that my dad passed away. So while we're still really sad, we are never alone now. So it's just been a blessing from God, and it's, I think, a true example of God's loving design for us, the sacrament of marriage. And it's really, like I said, in our case, it's just everything's been happening for a reason. God meant for Julia and Chris to be together. Yeah. So I'm not going to spill all the beans like JJ over there. I can't give any marriage advice, really. I've only been married for a short time. I will say, though, just use some basic discretion when you're planning your child rearing. Any sort of planning might be helpful. But in all seriousness, just trust your instincts. You're really good people. Just look to your families, look to your aunts and uncles and cousins and brothers and sisters and everybody. Keep traditions alive. Make your own traditions. Honor those that have passed. Pray every day. And then I think we'll see Chris somewhere down the line when he's a grandpa out in the middle of the street at a wedding. Julia, we have the best family in America.
Koerperich!
Good evening. My name is Wonio. I'm Julia's oldest brother. And as Helena mentioned, our father passed in October, but before he passed, he had the strength to prepare two father of the bride speeches. And thankfully, I only have two sisters and not the girls have six because I can't do this anymore. It's very hard. So, all right, so these are my dad's words, almost verbatim. So Julia Frances Wonio was born on September 12, 1988, our eighth child. By this time, Jean had the routine down pretty well. Although the job was tough, I'm not sure I even took off a half day at the office. I can tell you that although her mother and I welcomed all of our children, like her sister, we were thrilled for a girl. I specifically recall talking to Jean that night about how relieved we were that we did not have to come up with yet another boy's name. One would like to say that the journey began innocently enough, but it did not. Julia was not going to be lost in the shuffle. Although she was smothered by her brothers, she came to define herself in the Wonio house from the outset. Not indicative of who she would become, Julia was very particular as a baby. As I recall, she had a more individual schedule than any of her siblings. As a child, Julia's personality began to show almost immediately. She had a beaming smile, loved to be outdoors, and had boundless energy. Her strength and determination contradicted with her small stature. The smallest in her class, and by far the smallest in the house, Julia developed an attack that reflected her uncompromising approach to her brother's ongoing assaults. When she simply had enough, Julia would use her entire body to smother her brothers. A move later coined the Jinlaya. I looked on with joy as she simply would not put up with any crap, and I enjoy thinking about it to this day. Julia always had an internal strength that belied her size. I loved it. I love it. This strength was tested as a child. Julia struggled with respiratory problems. She fought and fought, going from strong to weak and weak to strong over a period of several weeks. Ultimately, she was diagnosed with asthmatic issues, but I will never forget her forging through the adversity. Julia's strength and athleticism led her to pursue gymnastics, and she excelled. From early age, she was able to move and jump like no Wonio before her. If any of her brothers could jump like she did, they may have been worth a damn on the basketball court. Alas, it was my daughters who were the most athletic. And like her sister before her, she forged new ground. The first Wonio to be accoladed as an all-state competitor. I got to see a great deal of the Midwest thanks to Julia, traveling to various gymnastics competitions with her mother. I learned about flips and twirls and was exposed to the terrific world of middle school girl gossip. It was quite disarming for her father. Moreover, it seemed at one point that Julia would simply win every competition. I was amazed and thrilled. When she entered high school, Julia was an established athlete and became a talented cheerleader. Unlike her brothers, she never struggled to make friends. By her senior year, she was revered by her classmates, and one of the highlights of my life as a father, she was elected homecoming queen. It was quite a sensational night. After high school, Julie went to college and continued to pursue her love of cheerleading, and started down the coaching path. She got a chance to interact with athletes and parents. It seemed that her true calling was always to be a wife and mother. In the course of this part of her life, she met Chris. Chris came into her life, and her mother and I could not have been happier. There was just something different about Julia after she met Chris. Chris was smart, he connected with the family, and would even put up with Julia's brothers. And after a few years of courtship, Chris rightfully took the lead. Sitting on the porch, overlooking the lake up in Michigan, Chris approached me and respectfully asked for my blessings with Julia. It was a bright spot in an otherwise difficult time. I did not expect it, but felt like it was a perfect place and the perfect time. My daughter was ready, and we all loved the setting of Torch Lake. It was something that made Gene and me very happy. Chris and Julia, marriage will be the most rewarding of all. It will challenge you, it will humble you, but it will also grow you and validate efforts like nothing you can do. Finding the right person, like you both have, will put you in a position of accountability. Be accountable for your role in the marriage. Be accountable. Julia, do this for Chris. It will be the best gift you can give him. Chris, learning this is the greatest gift you can offer Julia. When things get hard and you question each other, think about your role in the relationship and be accountable for it with everything you have. Gene Wonio taught me this. I accepted it. Teach each other this, accept it. It takes love, effort, and strength. But your mother and I are confident you can do this. If you are ever in doubt, you have the love of your dad and the advice of the woman who put up with him for so many years. To my daughter Julia, my baby girl, my July Live Granditi, I was desperate to make it to your wedding and aimed to do just that. As I told you and Chris, I wanted this goal. I am grateful Chris gave it to me. Don't fret, I am here, always. God gave you to me, but also me to you. He will never take that away. Loving you is what your mother and I set out to do. I can remember when you were sick as a little girl, and how vulnerable I felt. It was always my job to protect my baby. It's Chris's job now. I know he will take it to heart. I feel as though I remain in debt, as like your sister before you, you share so many qualities of your mother. And I feel blessed for that. I prayed for that. You have the magnetic personality, the drive to love others in need, and the easy to appreciate beauty your mother displays. Julia, I've always wanted for you. Loving you as my baby girl, the baton handoff to Chris, has been my final job. I've always admired you and the ease in which you navigate human relationships. You have a true gift. Over the course of that, I have learned that being your father is easy. I learned that all I need to do is try. You meet me the rest of the way, no matter how far that is. Watching you and your siblings grow has been the thrill of my life. With you and Helena, I lost myself in fatherhood, but what I found is even better. I love you forever.
All right, so that's a tough one to follow up. We'd just like to thank everybody for coming out. I know a lot of people travel far to get here. It really means a lot to us. And just a lot. I mean, I'd love to thank Gene Wonio for putting this on for us. I'd like to thank my parents, David and means so much to me. And but can we give it up for my beautiful bride? Doesn't she look amazing? Is that good enough? All right, so let's have some meals and some drinks and get on the dance floor. So, thanks everybody again.